Hi guys, my name is Gina Riddle. Welcome to my channel. And you may be able to tell what we're doing in today's video, maybe by the title or the fact that I have all these books here. But I am going to be doing a what's on my physical TBR. And I will also be doing an unhaul of some of the books that were on my bookshelf as I was going through to take all of these books off the shelf. I realised some of the books I just did not want to keep, so I've put those in a separate pile and I'll be showing you those after I've shown you all of the books that I have on my physical TBR. I think we'll probably start with these ones because these are kind of the most boring ones. She says that and then she picks up a quite interesting one. I have Het Achterhuis by Anne Frank. I do have the Dutch edition. Next on this stack I have the one book that is the non-Dutch book, which is Peter Pan, classic, original by J.M. Barrie. J.M. Barrie, sorry. Don't know what Peter Pan is about. A, I don't believe you, and B, Google it because I'm not going to tell you. Have I read it? No. Do I have 3 copies of this book? Yes. We're not going to talk about it. In the similar vein of the Peter Pan, we have Pieter en Haak, Peter en Wendy, and Peter en Haak. These 3 books, I'll show you the actual covers of them, but these are a Belgian retelling of Peter Pan. But yeah, the stories are basically about how Peter became Peter Pan, then the actual Peter Pan story in Dutch or Belgium, whatever you want to call the language that's written in, and then after the Peter Pan story takes place. Next up we have De Ontdekking van de Aarde, het grote verhaal van een kleine planeet, which basically translates to the discovery of the Earth and the big stories of a small planet by Peter Westbroek. Next up we have De Jacht op de Atlantis by Andy McDonald. It's a thriller. Next up, I have no idea what this book is. I couldn't even tell you the title of this book because it's unreadable. Next we have Gewist by Marco Kunst. Next we have De Macht van het Zwaard by Anne West. It has all 5 of the books in the series in here. Next up we have a series In Stoet van Doden, Helse Horizon en Stad van Slangen bij Darren Shan. De Geniesleutel bij Jeroen Windmeijer. And then we have De Gouden Sleutel bij Esteban Martijn and Andreu Carranza. And then the last books on this Dutch pile is De Chronieken van de Vreese Wereld. This is, I think, originally a Spanish series and I got it in Dutch. Fantasy series, and it has dragons. Honestly, that's all I need to know, and I feel like that's all you need to know. If you want more detailed information, Google. Google's everybody's best friend. I'll probably also tell you the author of this book so you can actually Google it. The author of this book is Licia Trossi. These are all part of the same series by John Flanagan. This is the Ranger's Apprentice series. I've already read the first 6 books, so it's book 7, Eric's Ransom, book 8, The Kings of Clonmel, Holt's Peril, book 9, book 10, The Emperor Nihonya, book 11, The Lost Stories. These are technically one and the same. Book 12 of Ranger's Apprentice, The Royal Ranger. So that finishes that series, but it's technically also the first book, Ranger's Apprentice, The Royal Ranger series. So I have the first one in that series, but then it's technically also the last. I have it double, basically what I'm trying to say here. But then from Ranger's Apprentice, The Royal Ranger series, I have A New Beginning, The Red Fox Clan, Jewel at Ireland. Next up we have the Blood and Ash series and the Flesh and Fire series. It's a Flesh and Fire series. But I have on my physical TBR The Crowns of Gilded Bones. This one's the 3rd one. Shadow in the Ember, which is the first one in the Flesh and Fire series. And the author is Jennifer L. Armentrout. The War of Two Queens, which is the 4th book in the Blood and Ash series. A Light in the Flame, which is the 2nd Flesh and Fire series. A Soul of Ash and Blood, which should be the 5th book in the Blood and Ash series. A Fire in the Flesh, Visions of Flesh and Blood, which is book 5.5 in Blood and Ash. And next up we have The Bookshop on the Shore by Jenny Culligan. The Winter Ghost by Kate Moss, Helix by Eric Brown, Minion by L.A. Banks. Next up we have another fantasy series. We have Brethren and Rakim. I'm not too sure how to pronounce this one, by Robin Young. The Rule of Claw by John Brindley. Reckless by Cornelia Funk. The New Policeman by Kate Thompson. Next up we have another fantasy book, The Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons. Next we have Metro 2033 by Omitri Lukowski. The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. The reason I picked this one up is because it's very similar to The Secret Garden, and if there's one thing you need to know about me is I adore The Secret Garden. As you can tell, The Secret Garden is on my TBR, physical TBR. The reason for that is because I've watched the movie about a gazillion times. Never actually read the book, so I'm currently reading the book. Yeah, I adore The Secret Garden, and this sounds similar to The Secret Garden, so you know, I have to pick it up. On that note, also The Secret Garden. Children of Time by Adrian Diskovsky. Next up we have a series by Rachel Vincent, My Soul to Take, My Soul to Save, and My Soul to Keep. Soul Screamers is what the series is called. Next up we have two books that may very well end up in the unhaul pile. We have Seeker and Traveller by Arwen Ellis Dayton. Last book on that stack is Arthur and the Minimoys by Luke Besson. I think you've been able to see my favourite book on this stack. I have Apprentice to the Villain. I literally only recently got this. Also noting yesterday. I got this book yesterday. Honestly, I am so excited. This book is the second one to Assistant to the Villain. I read that book in April. I bought it for myself for my birthday, and I bought it because I thought it's a standalone. I got to the end of the book and realised it was not in fact a standalone. So then I went to go search up what the second book was and found out that it didn't actually come out until August. So I finally have my hands on the second book, and I really badly want to get to it, but also I kind of want to put it off because I don't want to get to the end of this because I know there's a big cliffhanger at the end of this, and then I have to wait for however many months for the third one to come out. If you take one thing away from this video, it has to be pick up Assistant to the Villain, please and thank you. I should probably also tell you the author of this book. Hannah Nicole Vera is the author of this book. Pick up the first one, read this one. I haven't even read this one, but read this one as well. Next up we have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. There, we got there. Next up we have Akatar by Sarah J Maas. I can hear you yelling at me. Why didn't you start sooner? Because I didn't want to. And honestly, it's mediocre so far. Yeah, you can yell at me. You can yell at me. I'm hoping it'll get better. The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. Riordan. Basically Percy Jackson. Never actually read Percy Jackson. I've watched Percy Jackson. I've never actually read Percy Jackson. Am I going to ever read it? Who knows, but I like the cover, so. But Hunger Games, well, technically it's not a trilogy anymore, but I don't know what to call it, but it's the Hunger Games, but I already read the Hunger Games. We have Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Then we have The Hunger Games Mockingjay, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Next up we have Ender's Game. This is Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. I've seen the movie. I thought I'd pick up the book as well. Next up we have the Maze Runner trilogy, quartet, something along those lines, but we have the Maze Runner, the Scorch Trials, the Death Cure, and the Kill Order. And technically I have actually read these books. I think I read like the library version, probably at some point. I remember reading the books, but these are my copies and I feel like they should be on the reread, so they're on my physical TBR. And then you're gonna yell at me because I don't have the first two books of these, but like it's the Insurgents trilogy. Oh, sorry, Divergent. This is the Divergent, but I have 4 and Elijah. I think this is like the last book in the series, and then this is like Divergent, but from 4's perspective. The North Family, the North Family by Grace K. Shim. Happily Ever After by Kiara Cass. And then we have The Do's and Donuts of Love. This is a sapphic romance by J. Girdar. Definitely butchering that name. The Godmothers by Monica McInnery. Next up we have Bad Air Day by Wendy Holden. Next we have The Atlas 6 by Olivier Blake. I have a feeling you know what this is about, but if you don't, and it goes for all the books in this video, if you don't know what they're about and you'd like to know, Google it. I'm being very helpful here. Next up we have Supernova by Cass Morgan. Next up is one that I'm actually extremely excited to get to, and it's From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. The Queen of the North. Next up we have The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. Next up we have the Nancy Drew set, Secret of the Old Clock, The Hidden Staircase, The Bungalow Mystery, History at Lilac Inn, and The Secret of Shadow Ranch. We have the Worst Witch series, the 7 books in this series. I don't want to tell you all of the titles. Okay, so next up we have The Door in the Hedge, The Realm of Enchantment Lies Beyond by Robin McKinley, Gorbos, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn, Special Edition of Dracula. I don't know why this is here because it's technically not even my book, but A Man Called Ove by Frederick Backman, technically my mom's book. Earthsea, the first 4 books by Ursula K. Le Guin. The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisberger. The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. Another book by Crystal Sutherland. A semi-definitive list of worst nightmares. The Heart Principle by Hella Huang. The Poison Heart by Kellen Byron. Next up we have Chaos Walking Trilogy, the 10th Anniversary Edition. The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, Monsters of Men, Law by Alexandra Bracken, Siren J. Sound, Iron Widow. I like this author. I like a kid's book. She wrote Zachary Yang. Thoroughly enjoyed that book, so I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy this one as much. Boyfriend Material and Husband Material by Alexis Hall. We have Foibles 3 by Victor Dixon, 2312 by Kim Stanley Robertson. The first 2 books in the 3-Body Problem series. We have The 3-Body Problem by Shisin Lao. We also have Dark Forest. Next up we have The Fate of Tarling trilogy by Aka Johnson. So we have The Fate of Tarling, The Invasion of Tarling, The Queen of Tarling. Next up we have books in I think a trilogy by Tommy Ediemi. We have The Children of Blood and Bone and The Children of Virtue and Vengeance. The Legendborn Cycle by Tracy Dion. So we have Legendborn, Bloodmarked. The Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. Red Queen, Glass Sword, King's Cage, Warstorm, and Broken Throne. We have The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And the last books, all by Chloe Gong. These Violent Delights, Our Violent Ends, Last Violent Calls, both books in there. Foul Lady Fortune, Foul Heart Huntsman. There we go. I honestly want to know how many books this is. Give me a second, I'm going to count. It seems like I have 134 books on my physical TBR. Yeah, I need to start reading these. I really do. Okay, so here are the books I'm going to unhaul when I went through my bookshelf. It ends with us by Clean Hoover donating this. It's got to go. It's not staying in our household any longer. Goodbye. Onderschot by Ellen James. Next we have The Witcher, or The Hexer because I have the Dutch version, by Andrzej Sapkowski. I do want to read this story, I just want to read it in English. So I am getting rid of this and I'm getting the English version at some point because I do really want to read it. I just don't want to read it in Dutch. I have Nexus by Sasha Eisberg and Lindsay Cummings. It sounds fun, but it's the second one in a story and I don't want to get the first one. And then next we have A Confession of an Alleged Good Girl by Jogo Coffney. I did read it. I think I gave it like a 4-star or something like that. So I did enjoy it. I just don't think I'm ever going to read it again. So I want to pass it on so somebody else might read it and love it more than I did. Next we have One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. Haven't read it, not going to read it, don't really like the sprayed edges. I think somebody else would thoroughly enjoy this book more than I would. I'm just not gonna give it away. Next we have Artemis Fowl and the Arctic Incident by Ion Colfer. This is actually not my copy, I think it's my dad's, so this has to go back upstairs to my dad's bookshelf. I had it, I thought I was going to read it, thought it was my book. It's not actually my book. I'm giving it back to my dad. Next we have Model in New York by Cheryl Diamond. It's in Dutch. I don't really think I'm going to be reading this story. It's gotta go. Michael Fay by Richard Paul Evans. This is The Gevangene van Cel 25. I do believe this is an originally English book. I did start reading it and it was interesting, but I think I'd like to read the English version, so we're donating that. We have Enticed by Jessica Shivington. This is also the second book in a series, and I may put this to the side to see if I can find the first one, because I do think I'd like to read this, but we shall see. Iron Witch by Karen Mahoney. Haven't read this, or I may have read it at some point, but yeah, it doesn't interest me. I have other books I'd rather read, so getting rid of this. Pentagon, The Lost City of Far by DJ McHale. This is also the second book in a series. It's a kid's book. Once again, I have other books I'd rather read, so I'm getting rid of it. Fire Becomes It by Rosie Thorne. I've had this book for a couple of years now. I've tried to read it multiple times, can't really get into it, and I've only been keeping it for the cover because just look at that, that is stunning. But I think it's finally time to get rid of it because I'm never actually going to read it, am I? Next up we have Falling in Love in Korea by Miss Bazadi and Falling in Love in LA, both by the same author. I read this because I wanted to get to a certain amount of books in a month. It was quick and easy. It was okay. I just don't think I'm ever gonna read the second one. Somebody else might like them more than I do. Next up, these are actually like really difficult to give away. We have the Divide trilogy. I might rethink these because honestly I'm tempted to keep them. And then we have two books that I'm not 100% sure if I want to like get rid of them. Probably should, because Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I've read Fourth Wing, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I started Iron Flame. I just never got further than this, and I don't think I ever will, because what I've heard about the author, no, because if this ends on a cliffhanger and I want to continue reading it, then I'd have to buy the book and that'd be me supporting the author. And honestly, I don't want to do it. And I've heard that the second book really is nowhere near as good as the first one. I am tempted just to keep Fourth Wing because I really did enjoy it and get rid of this one. But I'm going to have to think on it. So editing me will probably tell you which one I got rid of, if I got rid of both of them, just one of them, or neither of them. Yeah, those are all of the books that I'm wanting to unhaul from my bookshelf. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing. And definitely let me know in the comments down below if there's any books on my physical TBR that you want me to read, or anything that you may think I may enjoy. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!